A former intelligence official has come forward saying that Russia is a reason for us to continue this big tech monopoly. You know, there's been a lot of discussion recently about breaking up big tech, right? What are we going to do? They're getting too big for their own britches. Like Google is too big, right? Apple is too big. Well, they're not really picking on Apple so much as they're picking on Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. But Apple you can throw into the mix too. Now, though, because of the war in Ukraine, we're hearing from U.S. security officials and the U.S. security state. Glenn Greenwald has a great breakdown on this whole mess. That now a former group of intelligence national security officials on Monday issued a jointly signed letter warning that pending legislative attempts to restrict or break up the power of big tech monopolies, Facebook, Google, and Amazon, would jeopardize national security because they argue their centralized censorship power is crucial to advancing U.S. foreign policy. Guys,
we can't just have you joining new platforms where you can be free. We've done so much work to bully Google and Microsoft to give us the keys to the kingdom. We can't break them up and start making new friends.
Right, we can't. We've consolidated power into Google, Facebook, Amazon, right? Jeff, all of these billionaires, they run the show. Now they are they are blocking stuff left and right online, okay? They are censoring things left and right, and that's exactly what we want. Now, if we break them up into smaller companies, it's going to be a lot harder for us to go after them. And that is why they hate Elon Musk so much. I mean, this type of censorship, like today, for instance, on Twitter now banning Shakespearean quotes. Like you can't quote Shakespeare on Twitter because it is a violation of their terms of service. You can't quote Shakespeare where if you refer to, I'm not going to say it because YouTube will probably block us. I won't even say it. You can't say it.
You can read in the bottom what it's supposed
Look at
to
Reddit.
say.
You know, there's a community on Reddit for Amazon workers that has banned the word union. You can't use the word union because, God, that goes against what we want to do here. You can't use those words. We're going to ban books. We're going to continue to ban and take down videos. We're going to block and censor all kinds of speech on the internet. And that, of course, is hugely frightening to the military-industrial complex and the intelligence and national security state. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, one of their central claims, as Glenn Greenwald points out, is that big tech monopoly power is necessary to combat foreign disinformation.
Interesting.
So this is like, we're worried about foreign
what other
disinformation.
People say. Yes, absolutely. Well, the latest is that Elon Musk has upped his bid for Twitter to $46.5 billion. He filed this with the Securities and Exchange Committee today, but he did not actually say exactly where all that money is coming from. So some people are saying, does he really have it? Where is he going to get it? He has pledges for it. I mean, this has been a fun saga to watch with such high stakes. And it puts Twitter's board in an incredibly tricky position because if Musk's bid is rejected, and some people are saying, no, this is not enough because his original offer was $54.20 per share. The new offer is still in the 50s, and some are saying, oh no, Twitter's worth $70 a share because it traded at that last year at its peak. It has not anytime since. And when Twitter seems to indicate that it will reject his bid, the stock continues to dip. He has said many times, if you do not accept my offer, I will sell all of my stock and be done with you. It'll be a full breakup. This is the ultimatum. If he does that, then they will most assuredly sink their stock even further. And then I think have a lawsuit on their hands from their shareholders for doing so.
It has been unbelievable to watch, and I'm just thrilled to be able to see like how this whole thing unfolds before our eyes. Because, you know, as Elon Musk has said, he thinks that for us to have an open democracy, for democracy to survive, we need a platform like this to be an open place of free speech. And he says not free speech in that you can commit crimes, but free speech, and that a big tech company shouldn't be censoring what you have to say. I mean, we've had repeatedly stories on here of journalists and so forth that we've covered on this show who have been blocked, censored, deplatformed. We have, we talked about who's been taken down. We just talked about Scott Ritter last night, right? Taken off of YouTube, taken off of Twitter and blocked and banned. And if you speak out against certain things, you will be blocked and banned. If you use Shakespearean quotes, you will be blocked and banned as a violation of terms of service. Musk says that he will be able to buy it. He has enough money on his own to be able to buy Twitter. But these investors now will allow him to basically swoop in and grab those additional shares that the board was trying to keep him from doing.
This is not a way to sort of make money. I think this is. It's just that I think this is. This could. My strong intuitive sense is that having a public platform that is maximally trusted and broadly inclusive is extremely important to the future of civilization.
But you've described yourself.
In fact, he doesn't need to make money. Tesla shares in Q1 of this year were up 7-fold from last year.
Yeah,
so
he's doing fine.
This is clearly not a money grab.
And he
What's
sold all
interesting,
sold all of his houses. And a report out today says that he doesn't even have a house. He sleeps on the couches of his friends.
Okay.
He doesn't care about money.
He also has a new baby. So why doesn't he sleep where the baby
I don't know. But today, Twitter shares, look at Twitter shares. I want to let you finish your thought in a second. But this was today. See this giant green candle here? This is exactly when this news came out that he had now, that was the moment when, because I was in my trading group today, I was talking to some people on my friends in Discord, and we're like, what just happened? Like, why is Twitter exploding? And that's because of this, that Elon Musk secured this and announced this $4.6 billion to buy Twitter in this new SEC
But
fund.
the share price is only fluctuating here by about $1, right? So you're calling this exploding, but am I reading this right? It's like between 46.18 at the bottom. And
yeah, I mean, it's not a huge move, but I mean, for that type of a big spike, something happened. So the market responded.
That's volume. That's not stock price, because the average stock price is what we're seeing in green, in pink, the trend.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So all of a sudden there was a lot of volume of purchase.
Yes, there's movement, there's volatility, and that because of that, it shifted, it jumped up really. And,
so now Twitter's board has 10 days to make a recommendation to shareholders regarding this offer. And it will be interesting because they have two board members that are up for re-election. And so if this tanks, right, then they could get an entire new board. Those board members could lose their seat. This is truly a nuclear option for Elon Musk because he has put Twitter's board in basically he's got them against the ropes.
Well,
and
also
they hate it.
Also, with this offer, it's the only way he can actually acquire Twitter because of the poison pill. So basically, which that means like if any single person owns more than a certain percentage of shares, literally everybody else, their shares start to double and triple. And so that way that percentage that they own actually continues to drop. That's how that poison pill option works. And so because Twitter has enacted this, he can't just like say, well, I'll buy everybody's shares. Because once he said that, then they're like, well, then we'll just give everybody but you more shares. And so like this is really the only way he could do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And people are wondering in the chat, could his agenda be to that rise and fall and then sell and then start a new platform? I think that was the thing. People were wondering back when he started that tweet storm about Twitter back a few months, like a month ago, when he was asking about Twitter and free speech. Like, is Elon Musk going to start his own Twitter? And the beauty of it is that no, like instead, Trojan horse this thing, come in and actually take over an existing platform and actually use it for good.
Yes.
And that was the brilliant move here.
I think that is what his intention is. He's been pretty clear about his intention, but it's interesting when you juxtapose that intention to keep sort of an open platform, open speech with this letter from security experts saying we can't break up these companies. We have too much control of them right now. So obviously they're worried about this company with censorship that they like right now falling into the hands of someone who doesn't want to play ball in that way.
Well, another story I wanted to call your attention to is President Obama. So President Obama has been giving a speech at a lot of different private events lately, according to reports. And it's the same speech that he's been giving around internet censorship. And he is expected to call for more internet censorship in a Stanford speech coming up in the next few days. According to the Chicago Tribune, Obama is expected to add his voice to the demands for a rise in the rain of flood of lies flooding public discourse. So President Obama is going to be calling on more internet censorship. I mean, guys, like this is exactly what we don't need. And if you ever wondered where the real minds of these liberal politicians sit, these moderate liberal politicians, where what their agenda is, it sits right here.
Well, and some of the things he's already said. So this is a quote from one of his recent appearances. He says, "I think it's reasonable for us as a society to have a debate and then put in place a combination of regulatory measures and industry norms that leave intact the opportunity for these platforms to make money. But say to them, there's certain practices you engage in that we don't think are good for society." So that's interesting if you lay that out, how he's saying. So he's saying, as a society, we should have a debate. And then whoever wins that debate, we then only let them have, because then we put in place regulatory measures. So we have the debate, right? Okay, we can debate things. But then if you lose the debate, you can't say those things. We lock the losing debate up in censorship, and then we narrow the spectrum of acceptable speech to just whoever won that debate. Okay, but then did we get that during COVID? Because I don't think we got to really have the debate. We only just were told what was acceptable to say, and then we locked up all dissenting voices. Did the Canadian truckers get that?
No.
Do we get that for mask mandates? Do we get that for Ukraine? Like, it doesn't seem like there is at all this open debate forum. And also, aren't we a little bit concerned that if this is what he's saying, we have a debate, we decide what's good for society, and then we lock up the losers? Are we thinking that there will be some kind of fair debate? And is there something we would miss if we lock up the losers in this debate? Like, do you see how this is so dangerous?
Yeah, he says, I think it's reasonable for us as a society to have a debate and then put it in combination of regulatory measures. So we can have the debate first, as you say, and then after you guys have, then we'll put in regulatory measures and we can decide what is free speech. He was asked about this. I want to play a good chunk of this and have a discussion here as we wrap things up today. He talked about censorship at this event organized by The Atlantic, okay, which is hilarious, and the University of Chicago. Also hilarious. He said his social media companies should censor what is not good for society. And he talks about it in the context of the Ukrainian war. And he says this with a straight face. I just want you to watch what he says here about the people in the audience, about how you all have access to any piece of unfiltered information that you want. Listen to President Obama meander his way around, basically calling for censorship here.
If you ask me what I'm most concerned about when I think back to towards the end of my presidency, it probably has more to do with the topic here today.
Which is about disinformation.
I grappled with a lot during my presidency. I saw it sort of unfold. And that is the degree to which information, disinformation, misinformation was being weaponized. And we saw it, but I think I underestimated the degree to which democracies were as vulnerable to it as they were, including ours.
Well, let me ask you about something notable that's happening in Russia, which is that despite a somewhat porous internet, globalization, everything else, most Russians, from what we understand from reporting, seem to have very little idea that Ukraine is not the aggressor nation, that it's not run by neo-Nazis, and so on. And so my question for you has to do with how do you break through to authoritarian regimes or populations controlled by authoritarians to give them your understanding of reality, democracy's understanding of reality?
Well, I don't think we have an easy solution. I mean, we have courageous journalists. You saw a woman with a handheld sign go across the TV screen saying this is all a lie, and it, you know, that obviously got suppressed quickly. Here's one way to think about it, though. For all the flaws that may exist in our own society, you can get any information you want right now. It's in your pocket, or some of you are taking pictures, so it's right in front of you. Unfiltered, literally, there's nothing you cannot receive right now in this room.
Wrong. That's wrong.
Exactly.
And yet, in our society, you have currently roughly 40% of the country that appears convinced that the current president was elected fraudulently and that the election was rigged. And you have 30% to 35% of the country that has chosen not to avail itself of a medical miracle, the development of a vaccine faster than anything we've ever seen before, which, by the way, now has been clinically tested by about 1 billion people.
Okay. So how many, I mean, we can unpack that in a number of different ways, but think about all of the ways that President Obama, his administration, literally would hand out basically press releases and have the United States Western media run with it and reprint it. He, after the Edward Snowden revelations from the NSA, literally would go on Jay Leno's show and basically say, no, there's no spying. We're not spying on the American people.
Yes.
Like, no, you literally are spying on the American people.
Yes.
You're literally spying, tapping people's phones and doing that, and watching Americans' every moves based on their communication.
Well, okay. And how do we decide what is good for society? Because I don't think that we're in any kind of agreement on much these days. I sort of was thinking back to, because for a long time in his post-presidency interviews, he was saying, well, I had Fox News working against me all the time. I could never get things done because of Fox News. So would it have been better for us as a society if there were no birther movement, right? Maybe that you could make the argument that birther movement was a distraction and it gave us President Trump. Sure, you could, but would it have been more dangerous to be in a country where you couldn't say that? And I'm stuck on this one, to be honest. I can't make a good argument in favor or not. But I think that I come down on the side of you have to be able to say some crazy shit if you really want a democracy, right? So him saying our democracy was too vulnerable to false information says to me that that's not a democracy.
Right. And also his point about that you all have access right at your fingertips of unfiltered information. No, number one, sites and of course, Western media and these organizations are censoring you as these, by the way, these former intelligence officials who just penned this piece and just sent their letter to the government saying we cannot break up these large companies. We can't break up Google, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, et cetera, because they're already doing our bidding. They're already censoring this, what we need. They're already doing our work for us. If we break them up into smaller pieces, then it's going to be much harder for us to censor information. Beyond that, though, the president says that this is all unfiltered information you have. We know that that's not the case, right?
Yes.
What they're spoon feeding us is coming from the Western intelligence. It's coming from, we saw in this latest ridiculous story out of Taylor Donsk, if I'm saying her last name correctly, this whole libs of TikTok story, which we haven't really covered here on this show. Other people have done a great job covering it, so I haven't wanted to beat a dead horse there on that story. But that came from Germany, Western intelligence from Germany, funneling into discrediting the libs of TikTok Twitter account and shutting that down. So Western intelligence is driving a lot of what we see in the United States. And that is exactly what we're getting in our newspapers and on our television stations. And for him to sit there and say that with a straight face is just laughable. It's laughable.
There's a lot in there like that. sort of joking about the COVID vaccine being tested on 1 billion people. I, for one, did not sign up to be a test case.
Yeah, were you one of the clinical billions that were tested?
No.
Philip, was that an accurate statement as a molecular biologist?
Test is not the word, I would say, because there was no clinical test done on the billion people. It was basically like a trial by fire almost.
Right. So the
Right,
information
no, but
and
that's
then what was
very
hidden, by
scary
the way,
for
right?
him to say that, like, you know, we tested on all of you who took it. Like,
Taylor Lorenz. Thank you, Richard. Yes, Taylor Lorenz. But yeah, like this idea, and then also the information was hidden from the American people about the vaccine trials. So like in the same breath, you can say that this was all tested on billions of people clinically, which it wasn't, which is a lie. And that you all have information about this readily available at your fingertips. No, you don't.
and he's saying, and yet 35% of people chose not to get it. And that's very diminutive, the way he said it. Like, you all have this information and you still choose not to. Like,
You have
you
our
idiots.
information that we
Yeah.
gave you. We had Dr. Fauci out there on television every day, spreading these lies about what this was, and you still wouldn't do it. We were literally spending millions of dollars on television ads to tell you and go and do this. But never mind, he makes no aside that, hey, maybe my doctor told me not to get it.
Right.
Maybe my doctor said I shouldn't do this because of other concerns or something like that. He doesn't make any mention of that. He flippantly says, yes, somehow you just didn't swallow our narrative, our information that was readily available for you, unfiltered at your fingertips.
Yes.
Yeah, I think another thing he said that was kind of scary to me was that, well, two things really. One, that the problem with democracy is that there are people. Because he basically, I'm paraphrasing.
Right, yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said there was that, you know, like, well, there's people out there that don't have the same beliefs as everyone else, and they're ruining everything. And the second one is how it was just taken for granted that using the word authoritarian, and then they're like, how do you get your word of truth through an authoritarian.
Yeah.
Wow, I really struggle with that one. An authoritarian regime, so that their people can get the truth, and then like just thinking about flipping that narrative, because who seems like the oppressor to some people in the world would be us. Then our truth is not truth. It is because we censor, because we have the same propaganda machines. It's just so interesting. Like, ours is the truth. Theirs are just, misinformation. It just weirds me out.
Yeah.
And I think I have an example. Let me see if it comes up properly. I'm going to put it on screen. Something. Nope, that was not it. Sorry, I tried to put something up on the screen. Let me try again, because I found some of that free information that we're subject to, and we can find anywhere we want. Let's see if it loads up. But you go ahead. Oh wait, there it is.
Yeah, I was going to say, and like I think to wrap this up a little bit. Oh yeah,
I got that.
Yeah, what is that? What document is that? By
Thank
the
you.
way,
That's free information.
this is our show, Redacted. What is that?
That is from the Mueller report, I believe.
Oh yeah. So yeah, you have that, and then when we wanted to get our information from Pfizer, we couldn't do that. We couldn't get our information from
Right.
Pfizer except through a Freedom of Information Act request. So
Yeah.
all this information is readily available at your fingertips after journalists file a Freedom of Information Act request and actually get access to it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.